Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Eisinger, and I'm welcoming you to our March Town Hall. We are mid-month through the elections period, and the board has just had their spring meeting. So we thought this was a good time to meet with you, share some updates, answer some questions. On the screen with me today, we have Deb Lally, our CEO, Val Venters, the president of our Certification Institute, past president Jim Krebs, and president-elect Patrick Kelly. And in behind the scenes, we have Ryan and Jenny who are helping make sure that we've got all of our IT sorted. So a little bit of housekeeping for us. We will be taking questions after the presentation. So while we're speaking, please take any time that you need to think about questions that you'd like to ask us in the Q&A box. I believe that there should be a number of other board members on the call to be able to answer questions in the chat if you have them. Make sure to upvote questions if you want us to answer any questions with priority. And that sort of starts us off. So let's move in for a reminder on our current board. If we can switch, there we go. That's us. So this is your 2022-2023 Board of Directors. And as I said, a number of the other board members are on the call today. This board has been very active this year with work pertaining to the strategic plan. And just as a reminder with respect to the strategic plan, we had 3 goals, and this work is really elements that have been worked on and predicated through planning that started way back in 2019 under Doug Leo and Chris Cadell, and then really crystallized with Jim. And this year we're building on all of the work that we've done in previous years on our 3 primary goals. Goal A is obviously our membership, and the goal is that we will be recognized as the premier source of cost engineering globally. And we finished 2022 with over 8,000 members. That's a single year increase of 5% and a 3-year increase of 10%. So this is demonstrable evidence that the work that we've been doing under our strategic plan has been really good. And later on in the presentation, Deb is going to give some more information about the tactics that headquarters and the team is using to actually build out the work that we're doing under the strategic plan in the year ahead. We've also increased corporate membership this year. We're up with an additional 151 corporate, finished with 151. So that's an increase of 12% this year. The board has also provided approved recommended changes to our section structure under the Membership Advisory Committee, and headquarters combined are working to continue to develop and roll out our section modernization plan, which again, Deb is going to give a little bit more detail in later. But this is a multi-year initiative, and it is, I would argue, the single most transformative event or activity that AACE is undertaking. With respect to goal B, we have actually finally been contracting with a full service marketing agency. We've gotten out of the business of marketing, given it to somebody else who's doing a much better job at it than we can. And we've incorporated a number of their recommendations as of March 1st to help us share the value proposition with a wider audience, including different organizations, sectors, and industries beyond those that we have traditionally interfaced with. And in the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about some of the key engagement relationships that we've undertaken and have been working to solidify with other partner organizations. With respect to goal C, we really want to make sure that our IP is used to educate and prepare industry professionals and practitioners. And we've updated, again, in our strategic plan, a refocus on the education goal in our last board meeting related to non-traditional students. The education board is assessing our volunteer efforts to make sure that we align and shift the work to better prepare and enlist more support to help further this particular goal. And again, Deb will be providing a bit more with respect to the tactics on that. So without further ado, let's talk about those strategic partnerships. Perhaps a number of you may not be aware that we actually do have a number of existing agreements, memorandum of understandings between partner organizations that we feel will benefit our members and will be benefited by our members. And through a number of conversations recently, it seemed pertinent to sort of remind people about what those relationships are. So you can see that we have agreements in place with the ABA, CMAA, DOE, SAVE, and RICS. Each of these has a liaison associated with that, so that we can ensure that this relationship gives us the best value and provides service to members. So let's move on and introduce Val. Take it away, Val.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Shoshana. Hi, I'm Valerie Venters, and I am the chair of the Certification Institute Board of Directors. As you've all heard, I'm sure by now, that in January of 2022, the Certification Institute was established, and we have been working over the past year and now a few months to organize and develop the necessary documents and procedures, policies, and all of this is really going to open new doors and new horizons for the already amazing certification program of AACE International. And the Institute we are going to promote, even more so than we already have over the years, the certifications to individuals, as we have been, but really focusing in on businesses and getting companies to recognize our certifications to a point of even requiring or making a strong suggestion that the people they hire have our certifications. So it is a very exciting time for the certification program. It is dovetailing in with the strategic plan that you heard Shoshana talk about, particularly in industry, because our industry, she's talking about the recognition of the value of AACE. Well, that dovetails exactly into what the Institute is wanting to do with promoting the value of the certifications to the industry. So all of this is really such a wonderful way of aligning and promoting and getting our certification program out there. The Certification Institute does operate under our own volunteer board of directors, and we are going to provide the strategic planning for the program. And so if you look at, I know most of you have already probably voted in this voting cycle, and you have noticed that there is a bylaw change of moving the certification program from the AACE International to the AACE International Certification Institute. And with that proposed anticipated change, this will be the structure. And the Institute, again, will have the we will be doing strategic decision-making and fiduciary oversight and responsibilities. The certification board will continue to do the amazing job that they do, and they will be developing the exams just like now, looking at the questions and looking at proficiency and procedures that will govern the certification program. So it is really going to be an exciting time, and if you haven't already voted, please get out there and vote. But I'm really looking forward to how the certification program will expand and become even bigger and better than it already is today. So I think with that, Shoshana, I think I'll turn it over to Deb and talk about headquarters.
Thank you, Val. Thank you, Shoshana. I am Deb Lally, the Executive Director CEO of AACE and the AACE Certification Institute. The folks you see here on the screen are our amazing staff at headquarters, 15 of us strong, that are working to accomplish all of the strategic objectives of both boards of directors. So I'll speak just briefly at a very high level to the specific strategies we're working toward in 2023. The strategic plan that the board set in place is a 3 to 5 year plan. And every fall they come together and talk about what the priorities should be in the year ahead and organize our budget based on those priorities. And then I work with the headquarters staff to develop an action plan and goals to achieve those the best that we can. So under goal A, related to AACE and membership, these are the 6 high-level priorities that we've identified for the year ahead. And as Shoshana spoke to briefly, the first one here is under supporting local member engagement. And I'll talk about the section modernization plan in just a minute, but a few other key initiatives here are really focusing on our marketing, which relates to engaging our existing members, so retention marketing, as well as recruitment marketing, and really building that brand awareness of who we are out there. We're going to be looking more at diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how that relates to AACE specifically. We're looking at further ways to further protect our intellectual property. So related to the section modernization plan, it is a really significant multi-year transformation for the association. The section model, the way it exists now, has been in place for decades, since 1956, when the organization was first founded with, I believe it was 5 sections in the United States at the time. And many of the same processes are still in place now that we are an international organization with 90 sections worldwide. We know that one way of doing things is no longer tenable for our volunteers. So this really is getting at driving member engagement at the local level. And we're working with sections this year, our member advisory committee, our regional directors, to figure out what all that means and how we can work with you all as volunteers. If you are not currently a section member and are interested in learning more, visit the URL below here. You can learn about your local section and how to get involved, because one thing that we're learning with the MAC and at headquarters is that these conversations are actually sparking even more interest in sections, which we knew would happen and we're excited to see come to fruition. So related to goal B, to industry, this really is focused on the industries that you all are in, which are myriad industries. And we're exploring more this year with a gap analysis of what industries we should extend our reach into with our technical content, our awareness, our member value proposition, and what other industries could benefit from the programs, products, and services that we have to offer out there. And we're really looking more at the quantitative and qualitative data of proving that value of both AACE membership, our content, and our certifications, and how to get that out there in a more streamlined way. And our third goal around education, we have a significant number of strategies related to this goal. This one is what the board focused on a lot in its fall conversation around how we can better accomplish the ultimate objective here related to education. We're going to be looking at our scholarship program, which had been in place for years and tabled for a couple of years until the board could really figure out, okay, what's the next iteration of our scholarship program and what does that look like? And they're talking about how it relates to sections, this whole section modernization plan initiative, and how the work that our sections are doing at the local level with their universities, how we at headquarters can help augment that work with the scholarship program that had been in existence here for years. And also at the local level, how can we engage more students? We have a student membership that is underutilized. getting them involved more with sections. There are a couple of notable sections already doing some great work in this area. So how can we replicate that across other sections? And this is also where sort of centralizing a lot of processes related to sections, many sections can benefit from what other sections are already doing. It's more of that cross collaboration and cross communication, and this goal in particular related to education. And one other thing that Shoshana spoke to as well is that non-traditional student, right? So we have, of course, undergraduate and graduate level students, but what about those folks in the profession who are seeking a new career path? So we're looking to help the individuals as well as our companies that are currently organizational members, helping them define those career paths. And what do those look like? And how do we develop tools and resources to help them in that path? So at a very high level, those are all the things we're working on at headquarters this year to achieve the board's high level objectives. And I'm going to toss it briefly back over to you, Shoshana, for the next slide, and then we'll open it up to Q&A.
Perfect. So thank you. And as we mentioned, excuse me, is the election run. So this is the current slate of candidates for our 2023-2024 board. So President-elect is Scott and Dan Malamed. Secretary is Mark Sanders. Director at large is listed here as well. We've got Hussein, Ahmed, Dale, and Hannah. And want to wish all of these candidates good luck in the election this year. I also want to remind everybody that the Connex registration is open for Chicago. So we do have a number of these candidates on as participants. If you have any questions for them, please feel free to put them into the chat. They'll be happy to answer. We also have a number of our certification institute as well as headquarters of the big board of directors members on the call. So again, if you have any questions directly for them, please put them into the chat. And I believe we can open this up to questions now. So let's see what we've got. Advise how to reach the details of the agreement between AACE and Save RICS and CMMA. Are you asking for copies of our agreements memo of understanding, or are you just looking to understand what it is we're providing okay, thanks, Deb. Would you care to answer that one?
Oh, sorry, I was reading ahead on the Q&A. Certainly, you can reach out to me and or Shoshana, and we can share some more details on those agreements. My email, I will put my email in the chat. You can also find it on our website.
Perfect. And like to know how the members can benefit from AACE strategic partners. Absolutely. So one of the most recent benefits is through RICS. If you have been paying attention in the communities lately, you'll have seen a number of surveys for the quarterly industry surveys and the reports going out. We also have some proposed workshops in conjunction with the ABA and CMMA. So what we're trying to do is provide tailored, focused, joint activities, webinar sessions that will benefit both members. Deb, would you like to add any additional details to that particular one?
No, I think you covered it. Thank you.
Perfect.
Shoshana, if I might, just a quick background though, for those that may or may not know. Years past, we had a very, very large number of these types of memorandums and agreements that sort of laid on the shelf and didn't do anything. And I really want to give credit to the previous boards and quite frankly, Deb, who from her experience and other nonprofits, these things need to be living documents So now we've assigned a headquarters champion, a member champion, potentially the board of directors, and are looking for regular report outs so that these agreements are not just stale pieces of paper in a file, but they're active things. That's why the number's down to 4 or 5, but I think all of them are important strategically, and I think all of them are being executed. So it really is, I think, a step in the right direction around those creative partnerships. So.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. That's some additional good insight. Question for Val. Are there plans for updating the CEU process to include the platform used to record CEUs for maintaining certification, as well as the CEU descriptions and values assigned? Thank you.
Wow, yes. Yeah, the certification board is looking at a new platform for the certification data. And with that should be a new platform for entering CEUs that will be, from what I understand, much more user-friendly. And I don't want to use the word easier, but maybe user-friendly is the same word, that I believe the members and the certificates will find much, much better than what we have now. I know the system we have now is very laborious. As far as descriptions and different values, the certification board is always looking at ways to better represent the recertification process. And there have been many times over the past several years that the values have changed and things have been added. So it is an ongoing process. And I think as the year, I think into next year, 2024, there will be other changes to the certification module that you'll be able to see the difference in how your recert platform will be. So stay tuned.
And I can add a little bit to the first part of that as well, Val, from the headquarters perspective. The board approved a significant investment in our technology related to our customer relationship management software, which includes the certification management system. So that was approved late last year, and we're actually at headquarters in the process of implementing that software right now. And I'm sitting in on all those calls and all those conversations. It's a pretty intense process, but what you all will see as the end user afterwards is going to be a significant improvement from where things are right now, both actually on the certification side, but this also relates to our membership as well. So purchasing products and logging in for your membership for our section leaders, this will also be an improvement for them being able to work with data and data management for their section members, for event registration, all that sort of thing will be improved centralization of data management.
Right.
Perfect. And I noticed that Charlie added a little bit of additional information. The certification hub available through our website contains full descriptions and values associated with the CEUs. Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah.
Piero has asked if certification exams will be available in other languages, Spanish, for example. And before I sort of let Val take a crack at answering that, I do want to sort of say that in general, the board has discussed, the need for approaching translations for our IP as well as our exams and our educational content. So this is a discussion we've been having that is a bit more far-reaching than just the certification exams itself. I know that we've been looking at trying to understand how we can do that without losing the integrity of the original source documents. So while that is not in play yet, it is being looked at and examined with respect to how we can facilitate doing that. And I would expect that we will try to apply that to the certification exams as well. But Val, has the Certification Institute Board had this similar conversation?
We haven't yet, but I know the certification board over the past 10 years has looked at and talked about translations because this question comes up many, many times. And again, the same thing you said, looking at it, finding the right way to do it so that the integrity of the exams and all of the intellectual property that they encompass is all maintained and secure. So that is a big job to understand how all that goes together. So at this time, there is nothing in the near future, but that does not mean that the door is closed, and that does not mean it won't happen.
Yeah, I think once we solve the logistical problems of facilitating it for our recommended practices, TCM, and other virtual library documents, I believe we'll be able to, pull that across for certifications. But again, because certifications are accredited, that requires an extra layer of rigor to make sure that, the integrity of the process and the content is maintained. You're welcome, Piero. Are there AACE accredited certification training courses? So we have actually just completed last year a full suite of training courses for the CCP course, which are available on our website. I know that the Education Board is working to expand the library of training courses that are available through that portal for some of the other certifications. So these are online learning modules effectively that you can take at your own pace should you not be able to attend one of those 2 or 3 day super saturated sessions that typically bookend the conference or are available on occasions throughout the year.
Right.
Hopefully that answers the question. Val, did you have any additional?
No, I was just going to direct them to the education materials and the online modules that I know the Ed Board has been working very hard on over the past couple of years. And I have reviewed a lot of those modules and they are good. So definitely go and check out the online modules that are being published. They're good.
Yeah, one thing the members at large may not really be aware of is a few years ago we resurrected the TEC Alignment Committee. So that's the alignment between the Technical Associate Board, the Certification Associate Board, and the Education Associate Board. And together, the leaders and headquarter liaisons for each of those, that triumvirate of groups comes together to make sure that each work stream and process flow for those associate boards are working in lockstep with each other. So the education materials are now reviewed on a consistent and regular basis by both certification to make sure that the products put out by education meet the expectations and intent to satisfy education towards the exam. That's not training to the exam, but it's helping facilitate the skill and knowledge base, as well as a review by the tech board to make sure that there are no gaps in the expectations for skill and knowledge across those two streams. So I think, from the perspective of, the quality of the product and the coverage for content, we have done a really good job of improving that over the last couple of years. And it's really moving like a tightly oiled machine now. Would you agree, Val?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we are miles ahead of where we used to be.
Right. So Alexandra, I hope that sort of answers your question with respect to training courses. Talking about AACE certification exams in other languages like Spanish. David, I think we may have answered this question when we were speaking to Piero. If you can just let me know if that satisfied your answer there. But yes, we are looking at making sure that we also find a way to have translations for RPs. CEP certification. How should I prepare study for scenario questions? Well, I how I am not going to do this one on my own, although I have provided the seminar in a box for a CP. Val, would you like to give sort of the?
Yeah, on our certification hub, as I believe Deb sent out the link earlier in the chat, you can find the recommended materials for study. But keep in mind that our certification exams are not book learning. They are based on competency, your skills, your knowledge, your work experience, the things that you have learned in your day-to-day workplace is probably the most important part of taking the exam, because the scenario questions, as you have asked, we have taken the workplace environment and built a question about that. So a lot of our questions are not book learning. They really you will pull from your day-to-day activities and the day-to-day work at your workplace. So again, go to the hub and the certification hub and look at the suggested study materials. I think there's a lot of good material there, but again, it is your skills, the knowledge, and the experience all wrapped into one package.
Yeah, and that sort of takes me back to the point regarding translations. It's not just about translations, it's also finding the comparable or equivalent concept that applies to that specific region or country. For example, Sarbanes-Oxley is a very US centric term, but it's applicable in terms of how to approach things if there is a comparable regional aspect or some other tax related law or contract specific government requirement. So making sure that we cover those so that the intention of the content is still clear and applicable when we pull that over. That's important. And of course, your personal work experience is going to help translate that for yourself as well. So,
right.
Yeah, perfect. Right, Abdullah, are we considering the different pricing mechanisms for membership certification and recertification for low-income countries? And I think Deb has, talked about our section modernization plan and tactics. We are looking at this issue and how we can develop it, but to be completely upfront, it's a little too soon for us to talk about it yet, because we're still at the forefront of trying to understand how to restructure the relationship for all of those various entities and regions and countries. And some of that may actually be able to address some of those concerns through that. So it's on the table, but too soon for us to be able to talk about it, Abdullah. And I apologize for sort of, throwing us down the calendar for an answer, but take a note so that we can look back to it when we're able to. Dan,
Shoshana, I can jump in on Dan's.
Sure.
So Dan, so the question is, are there any thoughts on the best use of educational funds, scholarship funds for recipients to enter careers in cost engineering? So at the last board meeting, at the gentle invitation of our president, Shoshana Reed, serious arm twist, we will be setting up reestablishing basically a committee or a task force to take a look at scholarships, how those funds are best used to support the overall mission of the association, how those funds are best used to support our membership. And Dan, certainly the concept that some of those funds might be used to see how we can encourage folks to enter this profession is absolutely going to be one of the key pillars to what we start talking about in that committee. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, and general membership may not be aware that we actually have an agreement with a university as a pilot project Perhaps maybe Deb, would you mind giving a little bit more detail on that? Because I think this particular partnership, although it's not facing outward in industry, it's sort of facing downward into the pool of future industry, is going to be a good test case for us as to how we sort of move through things.
Yes. So last fall, we collaborated with one of the faculty members, Bill Canterbury, who's also an AACE member and certification board member. So he teaches 2 courses at the Metropolitan State University of Denver. And so we signed an agreement with the university, facilitated by Bill, to have the RPIP curricula inserted into the curriculum of these 2 courses. And we're actually using this as sort of a beta platform to see then how we can replicate that curriculum with other universities, at other universities in similar courses. And we thought it best to start at the course level as opposed to at a higher level and developing an entire, degree around curriculum for project controls and cost engineering. So we're starting at the individual course level. So it's our first agreement with the university, but we're really excited about its potential.
Perfect. So, Alexandra, would it be possible to previously assess whether a candidate for a given certification meets necessary requirements before enrolling? I am going to throw this one over to Val.
Yeah, on the certification hub, all of the certifications we offer have requirements, education requirements, experience requirements. If there's a paper requirement, it will have that. So all of that can be found. If you haven't gone out to the certification hub lately on the AACE International website, go out there. There's just a wealth of information out there. And I'll also say, and Deb and Penny may shoot me for this, but if you have questions, Penny Woolery is a wealth of information. She is our manager of certification at headquarters, and she has a wonderful staff of Val Smith and Sarah Peters, and they can help you understand the requirements. Because there are nuances. Not all companies call people and titles, and not all schools call degrees the same. We got that. So Penny and Val Smith and Sarah can help walk you through what does all of that mean. So go to the hub, the certification hub on the website. And if you're still have questions or you're confused, give Penny Woolery at headquarters a call. She is very helpful. The CERT staff is very helpful at headquarters, and they can help walk you through that. But yes, you can know before you even enroll or make an application if you are eligible for a certification that you're seeking.
And Val, in the chat, Val Smith put the link to contact headquarters. So.
Oh, good. Okay. Yes, absolutely.
And not a problem at all, Val. That's literally why we're here.
I was going to say 200 people call Penny and she may not be happy with me.
Right. And Val Smith was kind enough to also add in the chat that if anybody is unsure of their requirements, they can actually email the department at certification@aacei.org and ask questions there. So Ahmed, and welcome. And I guess this is a good time to say good luck at the elections. What are the plans to increase awareness about AACE, especially for young professionals who are just starting their careers? It's clear that AACE is well known for veteran professionals, but I found that some fresh graduates who are working are not yet familiar with AACE and how it can help them grow their careers. That is that is a fundamental aspect of a number of the conversations that we've been having over the past, I would say, 2 years, Ahmed. And this is something that all three of the associate boards have been talking about, as well as the boards of directors for the Certification Institute and the primary board of AACE. And this ties very much into goals A, B, and C. Primarily, we're looking at goal C. How do we market AACE to the younger generation? That those up and coming early career individuals. How do we provide information to our current members, who are those veterans, to help provide people in their organizations who are the young professionals some more information that can better equip them for those conversations. We know that AACE is very much a word of mouth association. You have a member who gets value out of it. They talk about it in their organization, that shares the knowledge and the content about our association. So we're trying to make that a little bit more operational from headquarters, and support that with marketing, support that with recommended practices that show career progression requirements and the necessary skills at each level, and so that young folks in the profession can actually see what that path looks like, help build out the educational materials so that they can understand which elements of the AACE technical IP they need to leverage to improve their skills and knowledge so that they can get that experience. So it's sort of a multi-pronged approach that's being taken, Ahmed, and it is, again, a multi-year plan that is being put in effect for that one.
We also have, coalescing a lot of that work together. Our member advisory committee is working with the Rising Professionals Committee. We've got a lot of cross collaboration of volunteers and staff liaisons trying to further those objectives as well. We just established a student university outreach task force, members of both groups, to try and figure that out, as well as then working with section leaders. And like I spoke to earlier, replicating the great work that some of our sections have been doing at the university outreach level. So just really centralizing that strategy is going to be really important.
Yes, yeah. I see in the chat, Lynn has mentioned speakers and local chapters. Speakers and local chapters and online seminars are what first attracted them to AACE, and then they learned about certification. So thank you. I think that it's that kind of understanding from our members. What brought you to AACE, and then what kept you in AACE. Giving us that insight will help inform our marketing materials and our approaches. Right, we'll be able to say, hey, this is something that has worked for others. So please, thank you for sharing that, and hopefully that is an invitation to anybody else on the call to share that with us. Introduced to AACE, Katrina, a college campus through a construction management professor. Thank you for that as well. I know that as Deb mentioned, we know that there are sections that have some really good relationships with their local colleges and universities and have ties and members in those institutions, but we don't necessarily know all of those sections and all of those relationships. So again, being able to provide that feedback to headquarters will help us, help you strengthen that relationship, but then it gives us the opportunity to leverage that information from a marketing perspective to help disseminate the information outside of that group. So I don't think there are any open questions. which is great. It sounds like we maybe actually did our job and gave everybody everything they needed, which is the whole point of this session. So that's
Shoshana, just before
Yeah.
we leave, if I might, there's been a lot of questions around certification and the Certification Institute. And as Val started in her opening remarks, we're now passing the first year of that institute, in existence. About a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, the board, we had to reach out. It became clear for a lot of reasons why we felt this was a great thing for AACE, but it was very, very important for something as important as certification that we get it right. And that board reached out to Val to lead that effort, but also reached out to John Ciccarelli and Steve Rive, who took time out of their, in John's case, his busy personal, professional, and community service. Steve took time out of much deserved retirement, and Val added on to her already impressive workload. And they just really did an outstanding job. I don't know that we could have pulled 3 more appropriate, more skilled, more experienced people to do that. And it's really in great standing. And just while we have this many folks publicly, I really want to offer a personal and on behalf of the board of thanks to those 3 individuals specifically for their great work to get the Institute started correctly. So
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Charlie, thank you again. For those interested in certifications, Certification Associate Board will be hosting another series of live webinars through April and May. The Ask Me Anything about CCP, CEP, the AAC website will have the dates and times, and I would urge anybody who's interested in any of these certifications to register for those webinars. They were just a really good forum to throw any and every question you have about the certifications to those people who know everything about certifications. And I think I'd like to just say thank you to the Certification Institute and the new board members too. They've done just a phenomenal job, and I'm so excited to see what they continue to do in Patrick's year coming up and the years going forward. Is now a good time to put you on the hot seat, Patrick, and ask you to say a few words?
I will keep it as few as possible. Thank you, and I really am excited to be stepping in this upcoming year and hopefully build on all the very great work that I've gotten to watch take place under Shoshana's and Jim's presidency and with Deb and all of the staff support that's just been fantastic, and also been very excited to play a small role in the Certification Institute. That's really been the weight's been borne by other much more capable people in that. So very much looking forward to it, and hope to see everybody that's on this call in at the annual conference and expo coming up in June.
Yeah, perfect. And for all of those board members and associate board members and institute board members on the call and headquarters people on the call, thank you so much as well for being here. You got off lucky. Nobody asked any questions in the chat that I'm aware of. But we'll make sure that know that you're here and that you're available to ask questions outside of the chat at a later time if that's the case. So with that, I'll turn back over to Deb and let her close us out, if that's all right.
Ooh, I get the final say. Thank you.
You get the final say.
No, it's a privilege to work with all of you and to work with our members and certification holders and aspiring certification holders. So any questions, give us a shout here at headquarters. That is what we're here for, to help you all. So this will be recorded. It is being recorded, and I'm happy to also share the slides with all of our attendees as well afterwards. So reach out with any more questions, but other than that, hope everyone enjoys the rest of your Tuesday.